Camera number 383 is a Retina 2S. Haven't seen too many of these around, so very pleased to have acquired and try one of these. It's a range finder camera with a built-in light meter that can be coupled to the shutter speed and aperture, but more about that a little later. So just looking at, let's look at the front of the camera. Features a Retina Zenar 2.8 45mm lens, which is a fixed lens, no way of adding anything to that, although there is a room for provision for filter if we felt we wanted to try that. Our focus ring is around the outside, and we just simply rotate it, and then we have a scale around here, around the barrel of the lens. Features a synchro compteur, a shutter, and shutter speeds, let's turn that around, they go from 1/500th of a second all the way down to bulb, and then we have our aperture ring around the bottom there. As I say, they are linked, so when we turn the handle of the shutter, I don't know whether you can see that, the aperture rotates. So it's a nice little system. Let's just take you through the whole process, and then I can introduce other features of the camera. To set the film speed, we have to rotate this little dial. Now this dial has multiple functions, and one of them is to allow us to, when we press the button in the middle of this dial here, allows us to change our film speed. Don't know that I can demonstrate that very well with my finger in the way. Let's see if I can. Don't know whether you can see that, but you can probably see the little black area around my thumb there moving. And so once we've set our film speed, so let's just set, doesn't really matter, does it, 200, let's do 200. Okay, so we've now calibrated our meter, if you like, and then around this window, little arch window here, we have a needle, which is obviously measuring the light, and basically we use the same dial now around the bottom here to match up the little white marker, which will rotate the dial, and that, once it's in alignment with the matched needle there, we can now set our shutter speed. Now our shutter speed and aperture are set here at 1/25th at f4, and if we don't want that particular series of or combination of shutter speed stroke aperture, we can rotate it and it will rotate. So I have got quite a bit of a range. I can go from 4 seconds at f22, an eighth at 16, 1/15th at f11, 1/30th at f8, 1/60th at 5.5, and 1/25th of a second at f4, and then finally 1/250th at f2.8. Knowing that all of those combinations, because I've set the meter and lined it up, any of those will work. Now what might dictate, of course, is how much we want in focus, and so to help us, we have a very useful scale here, which opens a bit like a pincher here. I don't know whether you can see that on the video, but when I rotate those various speeds, it shows me what will and won't be in focus. So very, very useful feature there. Certainly recommends the camera very much. So everything's built in. So we have a light meter. Once we've set that, we can choose our aperture, and then depending on what we're shooting, if we want everything in focus, for example like a landscape, we can set that. So for example, infinity to 8 foot or 8 meters? 8 foot will be in focus when the shutter speed is 1/15th of a second at f16. So very, very good implementation of that, I felt, and the camera really feels nice in the hand. So you can probably guess, I think this is definitely a keeper of a camera. Very nice features there. It does include sort of a point and shoot mode. There's a little red on the 10-foot, and the idea is that if we set it, again, if the light conditions allow us, we can set it so that we can then do a point and shoot at quite close quarters really. And then if we want slightly further afield, there is another little red dot between the 20-foot and 35-foot, and again the idea is that we could use that for anything that we want to take that's a long way away, and point and shoot in that regard. Okay, so that's the way we do the light meter and set that. We have flash synchronization here, which is locked, and we have to unlock it with this little button where my forefinger is on my left hand. Once we release that, then we can set whatever flash we want to use. So we've done the film speed, the light meter, our shutter actuation button, and our film counter. Now our film counter has to be set by pressing the button down and then moving this little dial, and it moves it 4 or 5 frames at a time, and then we just set it, and then I believe it counts down, if I remember rightly. We wind our film on the bottom. Let's just see if it will. Yes, it looks like it counts down. Yes, it does. So we have to set our film, say, at 24 exposures, and then it will count down and show us how many frames we've got left. So a slightly long-winded method there, I believe, but still very nice. Looking through the viewfinder, we have the little red patch for our rangefinder. So when we turn our focus ring, we have a ghost image, and we just need to align them, and then we know we're good to go. Of course, we can choose that by eyeballing it if we decide that's preferable. Flash shoe, and then film memo around the corner, around the collar of the rewind crank. Now to rewind the film, we have to press our little button in the bottom, and then once that's in, we can lift up and rotate. Let's just open the film chamber. Now to open the film chamber, again slightly similar to most of the Retinettes and series of cameras, we have to rotate, and that reveals a little button which we then press, and then we can lift, and there we go. Now, I've noticed there is a tendency for this shutter to stay open. There we go, it's a bit slow, so I may have to visit the lens or leaf shutter there to perhaps just lubricate that. But I didn't seem to have any problem when I took the images, they seemed to be okay. No untoward, so whether that's just, I don't know, not quite sure why that's happening. Okay, I think that's pretty much it really, isn't it, as far as the camera goes. Tripod mount, there we go. So there was a lot of functionality there in that camera that made my time out very enjoyable. You can view the video, location to the darkroom, that will also feature this camera. So this is camera number 383, the Retina 2S.